Hello and welcome back. So, we were discussing about organizational culture. So, up till now we have learnt what is organizational culture, why organizational culture matters for any organization per se. So, moving further friends, let us talk about the components of organizational culture. What are the various components that would make a culture? So, as we discussed about the nature of organizational culture, we said that it is at all levels, it is multidimensional. So, since it operates at multiple levels from surface symbols to deep seated values and assumptions. So, understanding these components would help us see how culture is expressed, taught and reinforced in an organization. So, it is not only important to create a culture, but it is equally important to teach culture and to sustain, to reinforce culture within the organization. Because otherwise, if you are not reinforcing it, it would vanish. So, we have to sustain our culture. So, the first component of organizational culture is the artifacts, which is understood as the visible elements of culture. So, these are the tangible, the visible representations of culture. They are easy to observe, but hard to interpret without context. So, as we were discussing about the nature of organizational culture, I told that it is observable, but it is invisible, right. So, similarly, talking about artifacts, these are the visible aspects of culture and they reflect the organization's identity, but do not always explain why things are done that way. So, you might not be able to get the answer that why you are behaving like that, but definitely it would reflect the organization's identity. So, let us understand artifacts with the help of some examples. First one of it is the physical layout of the office. So, your physical layout or the design of an office also speaks volumes about the culture of the organization. For example, the open workspaces at Google, it promotes collaboration. So, when we have open workspaces, it shows that people are open to work, people are open to collaborate with others. Whereas, you must have seen in some traditional law firms where there are closed door offices which reflect hierarchy and less of teamwork, less of collaboration. Similarly, another artifact is the dress code. So, formal attire at Goldman Sachs, it signifies professionalism. So, many organizations, they promote a formal attire for their employees, but organizations like Google and Facebook, they have a casual wear which reflects informality and comfort. So, every organization would be having different artifacts. Then there can be company logo, the slogans, the branding style, that is also an integral part of the artifact or the visible portion, visible part of your culture. Then there are rituals and ceremonies, the award functions, the annual parties, that also reflect the organization's culture. So, if you are celebrating people's success, their achievements, that shows the culture. But if you are just sending them a simple letter of appreciation, that also exhibits your culture. So, artifacts are like the organization's body language. They show how the company wants to present itself. Then the second aspect of or the second component of organizational culture is the espoused values. They are the declared beliefs and the norms which are set. So, these are the stated values, strategies and goals that the organization claims to uphold. So, they serve as a guide for expected behavior and reflect what the organization aspires to be. For example, the mission and vision statements. Every organization has its own mission and vision. Vision is what you want to be, and mission is how you propose to reach to your vision or fulfill that aspect. So, core values like integrity, innovation, customer centricity, then leadership principles or philosophies, corporate social responsibility statements, all these are examples of the espoused values. For example, Tesla has the mission and vision statement of to accelerate the world's transitions to sustainable energy. IKEA says to create a better everyday life for the many people. And the core values, Netflix says freedom and responsibility. So, it shapes its no rules vacation policy. Tata Group, leadership with trust, is evident in its community outreach. So, this is how the vision and mission statements and the core values, they reflect the organization's culture. These are the espoused values. Then there can be strategic goals and ethic codes. For example, Unilever's sustainable living plan guides product innovation. Infosys's value system, it includes integrity and transparency. Again, these are the espoused values. Then third component is the invisible core or the basic underlying assumptions. And these are the deep rooted unconscious beliefs that truly drive the behavior. So, these are the invisible aspects of the organizational culture, and they are often developed over time through shared experiences, and again they are rarely questioned. So, you do not question why I have to wear this, why I have to speak like this, why I have to behave like this, because they define what is considered normal or right in that particular organization. It may vary from organization to organization, but you do not question the basic underlying assumptions or the invisible aspects of the organizational culture. So, some examples are success means beating competition at all costs. Employees must be available 24/7 to show loyalty. So, these are certain statements, right, but what do they tell? They tell the culture, they tell the story of the culture of the organization, and you cannot question why I have to be available. And another one is mistakes are not tolerated versus mistakes are learning opportunities. It shows the two diverse cultures within an organization. So, if the culture says mistakes are not tolerated and the other culture says mistakes are learning opportunities, you cannot question this, but that is the basic underlying assumption within the organization. So, these assumptions, they shape how people interpret reality, how they would be making decisions, and how they would be interacting with each other. They are the hardest to change because they are the core values, and yet they are the most powerful in shaping the culture of an organization. So, if we imagine organizational culture as an iceberg, artifacts are the visible part which is above the water, values are just beneath, but assumptions, those deep invisible drivers, are what hold everything together. So, though they are invisible, yet they are intensely deep, and that is what would hold the other two, the artifacts and the assumptions that hold them together to what people see as the culture. So, moving further, what do you think would be the impact of vision and mission on organizational culture? So, just now we learnt about some vision statements, mission statements of organizations, but do you feel that they truly have an impact on the organizational culture? So, dear learners, as the organization evolves and matures over time, the impact of the vision and mission and even the strategies on its culture becomes extremely significant. So, most organizations have very clearly defined vision, which is the overriding goals and objectives of the company. The mission, which is the ways and means of realizing the vision, means how you want to achieve your vision, and the strategies, which is the decisive course of action chartered by the top management. So, let us understand. So, vision and mission is the cultural compass. Vision is the organization's long term aspiration, what it ultimately wants to become. That is the vision of an organization. Mission would define its purpose, the core activities and reason for existence. Why is an organization existing? The reason for existence is the mission. And these two foundational statements are not just formalities, they deeply influence the organizational culture. How? By setting the direction, by shaping the values, and even by guiding the routine daily behaviors of the people. So, the alignment between mission vision that creates a cultural consistency. So, when the vision and mission are well communicated and authentically embraced, they would create a strong cultural foundation. So, it is not just about creating a culture or just designing a vision and mission statement. It has to be, number one, properly communicated to the people, and for the people it is extremely important that they genuinely, authentically embrace whatever has been communicated, whatever vision, mission the organization has, it has to be embraced by the people of the organization. Only then they would be able to bring in their actions, which is again aligned with the mission and vision of the organization. So, it is important for the employees to understand that what matters most, what behaviors are rewarded, and how success is defined. That will help in having or creating cultural consistency within the organization. So, for example, Tesla's vision is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. So, this drives a culture of speed, risk taking, innovation, and a sense of urgency. Then it has an influence on values, norms, and behaviors. So, the mission informs daily decision making and employee behavior. The vision, on the other hand, it would shape the aspirational mindset, encouraging people to stretch beyond boundaries. An example here is that of Unilever's mission to make sustainable living commonplace is reflected in its eco-conscious ethical culture, which guides both product innovation and employee conduct. Then it also has an impact on recruitment and onboarding. So, companies use their vision, mission to attract culturally aligned talent. So, you must understand the fact, and we often talk about the organization person fit. Why we talk about this is that if my values or if my the way I dress up, the way my mindset is, the way my attitude is, if it does not match with the culture of the organization, that then I would be a misfit in that organization. Similarly, if my mission or my vision, where I see myself, what is my purpose of existence, if it does not align with the vision and mission of an organization, again I would be a misfit for that organization. So, at the time of recruitment, it is important for the organization to understand whether this person is aligned with the organization's vision and mission or not. Because if the person has some other dreams and as an organization you want to reach somewhere else, then that person would not be contributing to achieve the organization's vision. So, during onboarding, employees learn how the organization's purpose translates into values and behavior. For example, Google recruits people who resonate with its mission, which is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. So, this fosters a culture of curiosity, openness and continuous learning. So, here if you understand that the key words are curiosity, openness and continuous learner. But if you hire somebody who is not very curious, who is not open, who is rigid, who does not like teamwork, who does not want to collaborate, or who thinks that he does not need to learn all the time, would he be a good fit for the organization? Perhaps no. So, that is what I mean to say when I say that there has to be a fit between the person and the organization. So, culturally what are my values? Are my values aligned with the culture of the organization or not? Then it acts as a filter for strategic decisions. So, when mission and vision are integrated into culture, what would happen? Leaders and teams, they make decisions that align with purpose even under pressure. Unethical or non-strategic behavior is naturally filtered out. That is why we say that the vision and mission acts as a filter for the strategic decisions. For example, Patagonia's mission, we are in business to save our home planet. So, it influences every part of its culture, from supply chain decisions to employee activism support. So, let us move further and talk about the models of organizational culture. So, we are going to learn about the 4 models, out of which the Edgar Sheen's 3-level model has already been discussed. Second is the Hofstede's dimensions of organizational culture. Third one is the Cameron and Quinn's competing values framework, and fourth is the Charles Handy's 4 culture types. So, Hofstede's dimensions of organizational culture were originally developed by Geert Hofstede, who is known for his work on national cultures, extended his research to organizational settings. So, though he started with the culture of a nation, but the research was applied to organizational settings also. So, he proposed that organizational cultures can be differentiated using 6 independent dimensions. The process oriented versus result oriented, which means that some organizations, they emphasize how tasks are performed, focusing on the rules and procedures, while others process on the outcomes and achievements, no matter how you are doing it. Similarly, there can be job oriented versus employee oriented. So, in job oriented cultures, the focus is on performance and productivity, whereas in the employee oriented cultures, there is concern for employee welfare. The third one is the professional versus parochial. So, in the professional cultures, the priority is occupational identity, while in parochial cultures, we prioritize loyalty to the company. So, as I said that these cultures would differentiate one organization from the other. Then there can be open versus closed system. Open cultures welcome new employees, new ideas, so there is openness, whereas closed cultures are more secretive and extremely selective, not open to new things or new ideas. They want to maintain the status quo. Then there can be tight versus loose control. So, some companies maintain strict norms and disciplines while others encourage flexibility and they are adaptive to the environment. Then there can be pragmatic versus normative. So, pragmatic cultures, they focus on customer satisfaction and practical outcomes, whereas normative cultures follow internal standards regardless of customer needs. The next one is the Cameron and Quinn's competing values framework, which was developed by Robert Quinn and Kim Cameron. This model is one of the most widely used in organizational diagnostics. So, the Cameron and Quinn's competing values framework identifies 4 culture types, which is based on 2 dimensions, which are internal versus external and focus and flexibility versus control. So, there can be a clan culture which is internally focused and flexible. So, it feels like a family with high commitment, employee development and teamwork. So, Zappos and early Google are prime examples of a clan culture. Then there is the adhocracy culture which is externally focused and flexible. It encourages innovation, creativity, risk taking, and it is often seen in startups like SpaceX. Then the third one is the market culture, which emphasizes control and external focus. It is more result oriented or result driven, competitive and performance oriented. It is seen in firms like Amazon or General Electric. Then there is the hierarchy culture. It is internally focused and control oriented. It values structure, formal rules and efficiency, typical of government institutions and large legacy firms. The next one is the Charles Handy's 4 culture types. So, British management thinker Charles Handy classified organizational culture into 4 main types based on power distribution and the organization's structure. So, Handy's model helps leaders understand how control, influence and purpose vary across organizational forms. So, what does Charles Handy describe about organizational culture? The first one is the power culture. So, this culture centers around a central figure or small group making key decisions. So, it is typical in startups or family run businesses. So, the power is centralized. So, only few people have the power to take decisions and others have to follow. So, that is the power culture. So, not everybody has the equal power or people are not empowered in this type of a culture. Then the second one is the role culture. So, the role culture, it values structure, formal roles and responsibilities. It is hierarchical and well suited to stable environments such as we see in the public sector organizations. So, here the focus is more on the structure. What is your role? What are your responsibilities within the organization? It is again hierarchical and more applicable under stable environments. Then the third is the task culture, which is project oriented, emphasizing teamwork and problem solving. It works well in consulting firms or creative industries. So, the focus here is on teamwork and problem solving. Then another one is the person culture. It places the individual at the center. So, professionals in law firms, academia or research institutions, they often operate in such cultures where the organization exists to serve the individuals within it. So, these models of organizational culture are not mutually exclusive. In fact, organizations often display elements from multiple models depending on their structure, the situation, the strategy, the leadership and the evolution stage, which means that you can have or use more than one framework within your organization. So, using these models in combination can offer a richer and more nuanced understanding of how culture operates within an organization. So, friends, with this we come to the end of this aspect of organizational culture. So, we talked about what is organizational culture, why it matters, the broad framework of organizational culture, what are the models, what are the various dimensions of organizational culture. We will continue with some interesting aspects of organizational culture in the upcoming lectures. Thank you.